Welcome back into Good Parenting. I'm your host, Matt Bubala. Thanks very much for being with us as always here. Joining us in studio right now is famed father's rights attorney, Jeffery M. Leving. The book is called How to Be a Good Divorced Dad. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be on your show.
Well, you've written a few different books, and quite honestly, our show goes all throughout the country, and so people outside the Chicago area might not know your name. But here, you know your name because you listen to the radio, and there's a lot of commercials. So I've known of you for many years. I know people who've used you in their divorces, and father's rights is something that was, I never would have thought of. I think a lot of people didn't think of until I started hearing those commercials and thinking about, well, when dads go through divorce, and then you hear stories in the news once in a while. Here's a book that it's interesting to me because this is about how to be a good divorced dad. I think a lot of your previous books have been about how tough it is for fathers to go through divorce and to get custody or the most they can to still stay in the lives of their children. So here you've written a book about being a divorced dad. What made you decide to write about this aspect?
I thought about this aspect in my practice area, and it seemed to be an area that was completely overlooked because my prior two books, Father's Rights and Divorce Wars, focus on the law and legal strategies for fathers, service providers, and lawyers who want to learn how to represent fathers in difficult custody cases. But there was nothing really out there that combined the law with psychology and related issues, even religion, and the spiritual aspects of family and divorce and paternity issues. So what I did here is I interviewed two doctors, two psychologists that are very, very well known in this arena, and other people, and I put together what I consider a global book on families, the breakup of families, and how to protect children from the fallout and fathers, and how to protect men so they don't lose all their assets and end up kicked to the curb at the end of their divorce.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute because the legal aspect I am interested in as well. How far have we come? Is there still a gender bias when families are divorcing? Are the children much more likely to end up much more often with their mom than with their father?
Definitely. It's very unfortunate, but in the vast majority of custody awards, the custody is awarded to the mother either in sole or joint. Very few fathers have sole custody awards, and fathers are still often kicked to the curb, and it's very difficult. A lot of dads give up hope and walk away, and I wrote this book in part so fathers don't give up hope and don't walk away because their children really need them. I know Margaret Mead once said fathers are biological necessities but social accidents, but if you look at the statistics, they speak to the contrary. The most reliable predictor of crime in America is father absence. Children that are father absent are more likely to be victims of abuse. If you look at my website, dadsrights.com, you'll see startling statistics that show that little girls that are father absent are more likely to become victims of sexual abuse and rape. Children that are father absent are more likely to flunk out of school and use drugs. So this is a big, big issue that can't be ignored anymore simply to perpetuate gender bias against fathers.
Well, you start the book with a story about somebody who came to see his lawyer, and I'm not sure if it was you, but who basically said, well, let her have custody. I lost my job. It's my fault, all these things, and was ready to just give everything up. Do men often, I'm guessing, and I don't have any statistics on this, but from friends I know and things like that, a lot of times there's an affair involved. A lot of times people are kind of hitting that middle-age portion, and somebody has an affair, and suddenly there's a divorce. And I think when it seems to me that when it's a dad who had an affair, he seems to be like, well, it's my fault, and she can have the kids, and she's this and that. Do dads come in a lot of times not ready to fight for their kids or to try to be as much of a part of their lives as they can?
Very, very often. Many fathers come to my office and meet with me, and they're so full of guilt that they're often willing to give up everything, their home, their financial future, and unfortunately their children, because they're so full of guilt. And often anger and guilt are intertwined, which is even more dangerous because those dads that can't work through the guilt and anger often end up targets looking for an arrow and can lose everything.
To summarize, if unfortunately you're headed down this road and divorce is inevitable, as a father, there still is gender bias. You're facing an uphill battle, at least a little bit, still in the courts these days. So make sure that you realize that you can have joint custody. You can achieve everything that you want if you go about it the right way. You get the right attorney, talk about it ahead of time, and stay as involved with the children as possible, and be as amicable as possible. I mean, more sugar, more honey, as you said, than anything else, to try to keep things as as peaceful as possible at the most tumultuous time of your life.
Exactly, and do not ever give up hope.
Jeffery Leving, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.